Hello and welcome to Nosgoth News. Spring has sprung, it's a time of new beginning and refreshing changes, and what better time to drop a new patch for Soul Reaver Remastered. While the last patch was more about bug fixes and fixing immediate problems, patch 2 has much more content and interesting additions, and some are real crowd pleasers. So let's start with the Dead Shall Rise, because this is the one we've known about for a long time. As you may know, a few months ago, Bitbot Media, the creators of the upcoming Soul Reaver prequel graphic novel The Dead Shall Rise, made the promise as part of their campaign that the backers for the project would end up having their own credits in the Soul Reaver 1 and 2 Remastered game. But we were told that it would come in a post-launch patch. Well, now the time is upon us, and that screen has been added to the game. That means that if you navigate to the menu and the special features of the game, you can find a list of all 8,000 backers for the project, so thanks to all of those that have backed it. You've helped put LK on the map once again. You may even be able to find a few people who are now credited in the game twice. Another fan favourite will be the addition of the Portuguese language to the remasters. The Portuguese language was not supported in the original versions of the game, but a version of Soul Reaver 1 with Portuguese dubbing was released in the early 2000s. But this never happened for Soul Reaver 2, and presumably this kind of inconsistency has caused headaches behind the scenes of the remaster. This was something heavily campaigned for in some quarters, with what seems like the entire Brazilian nation regularly raising awareness of the topic and asking for this to be included. So thanks to all the Brazilian and Portuguese fans out there, and welcome to the party. As can be expected with any post-launch patch, there are numerous bug fixes, including fixing various text issues in the Dark Chronicle in the Lore Reader and various texture fixes. They've also fixed various special effects that weren't displaying correctly, such as in the chronoplast visions, in the paradox scenarios, while swimming, and they've also corrected Duma's incorrectly glowing eyes. But the pièce de résistance for this patch is the inclusion of a brand new piece of cut content that's so far unknown to the majority of fans. Sort of. Okay, so through the menus you can now access the Soul Reaver 1 demo from E3 1998. This is a bit special because it was the earliest ever publicly available demo for Soul Reaver, and is by a wide margin the earliest prototype build available in many quarters. Because it was given to E3 attendees, its material can be found in many industry magazines and previews of the time, but it had never made its way into the public arena, until now. Looking through this little treasure trove is a gateway to some of the earliest visions of Soul Reaver 1 that existed, with some of that early combat and early enemy designs. Perhaps the most striking feature is that Nosgoth is not a completed world, but a condensed array of the most memorable locations, all linked together in a strange mishmash that is unfamiliar to the retail player. This amply demonstrates some of the design processes of the game, that the big impressive locations were finished and polished first, and that the linking paths and the full scope of the world was added later, perhaps explaining how some of the debug names of the rooms seem out of order or haphazard. And of course, if you go through, you can see a lot of materials that up until now have only been seen in preview screenshots, but never seen in playable prototypes. So for example, these menorahs in Malkaya's boss battle had only been seen in previews, but were never found in a playable prototype. This reveals that they were actually from an early E3 demo that never got out to the public before now. And there are several areas that will come as no surprise to the players of the Lost Levels section of the remaster. This is of course what you might call ground zero of the public knowledge of those materials. Screenshots of this build in magazine previews, like the screenshots of the Sunlight Forge and the Water Forge, led to the original quests to find materials related to the cut content of Soul Reaver, and all the way down the line, that led to the Lost Levels being present in the remaster itself. All in all, it's a beautiful little addition to the cut content tapestry that the remaster has put together for us, so a heartfelt thank you to all of the team for all of the juicy cut content this game has brought us. Unfortunately, we've also had a bit of bad news recently, as within the last few days the spectre of industry layoffs has been cast over Crystal Dynamics, with 17 people let go from the studio. No word on what games these people were working on, but according to a CD statement on the matter, the losses will not affect the current plans for projects, and they are not a reflection on the dedication or ability of those involved, and they are providing assistance to the staff members affected. Nevertheless, it's always distressing to hear of such job losses, especially within the current climate of the industry. We wish those affected all the best and hope they find their feet quickly. In other sad news, the Legacy of Kain fandom has suffered another loss of personnel, as it was announced that Jim Curry passed away in mid-February following a period of illness. Jim was best known to Legacy of Kain fans for his contributions on Blood Omen and Soul Reaver 1, where he was credited for his work on the marketing and writing of both games, and was credited again on Soul Reaver 1 and 2 Remastered. Jim had worked for Crystal Dynamics in the early 90s, contributing to some of their most famous games, including Akuji the Heartless, Gex, and Pandemonium. We extend our condolences to his friends and family. Requiescat in pace. Finally, to end on something of a happier note, if you've played through Soul Reaver 1 and 2 Remastered, it might be worth looking into the sequel Legacy of Kain Defiance, which of course started life as Soul Reaver 3. All of the games in the series undergo regular discounts in the gaming media, and Defiance is currently available for free if you have Amazon Prime as part of their Prime gaming service. It also has a big discount on GOG too, having just coming off of a free period there. Of course, we still have lots of Legacy of Kain content to come over the next few months, with the expected releases of The Dead Shall Rise and the physical release of Soul Reaver 1 and 2 Remastered. And more info to come on the Scourge of the Sarafan and the Book of Nosgoth, so there's a lot to look forward to. As always, I've been Basilim, and until next time, Vae Victus.